The Mohegans were an eastern Algonquin-speaking people located in southeastern Connecticut. Originally found in upstate New York near Lake Champlain, the Mohegan, also spelled Mohican, were living with the Pequot tribe in what is now southeastern Connecticut at the time when the first white settlers arrived in New England. The Mohegans sided with the English against other Indian tribes, and by the 1700s were the only Indians of prominence remaining in southern New England. Today, many Mohegan live on ancestral lands in the area of Uncasville. Also, the Mohegan Sun Resort in Uncasville, the third largest casino in the United States, opened in 1996. The Mohegans had a loose tribal organization in which individual villages looked after their own affairs and tended to be small and far apart. They lived in both domed wigwams and rectangular houses usually covered with birch bark. Each village had its own sachem, who selected an overall leader for negotiations with other tribes or for leading the Mohegans into war. Mohegans were mostly farmers and depended on their crops for most of their food. When Uncas and his followers broke off from the Pequots, they first established a village on the Connecticut River. The group named themselves Mohegan, which means wolf. The tribe continues to function throughout the 20th century, centering its activities on the church. In 1979, the Mohegan filed a lawsuit against the state for possession of lands in Montville, Connecticut. It brought suit in the 1970s for land lost in 1861, and in 1994 it was granted federal recognition and settled its land claim. Furthermore, the Mohegan culture survives through the heroic efforts of the tribe's leaders, despite prejudice and persecution. In 1931, John Tantaquidgeon and his children Harold and Gladys founded the Tantaquidgeon Museum. The museum is the primary archive of Mohegan culture and artifacts, and is also the oldest Indian museum owned and operated in America. One last Mohegan tradition is the Green Corn Festival, which is in celebration of the tribe's survival. It is held at the end of the summer when corn is harvested. It is also done to help Mohegans connect to their tribe's past and culture. The Mohegan first appeared in a 1614 Dutch map that shows them located close to the Pequots, if not part of the Pequot tribe. The Mohegan and the Pequot originally belonged to the same group, sharing the same Algonquin language, dialect, and common ancestry. They split after the arrival of the Europeans in the 17th century. In 1620, one group of the Pequot rebelled against Saskis, a Pequot chief, and moved to another location on the Connecticut River. This group established an independent village and became known as the Mohegan. The Mohegan practiced hunting, fishing, and farming, but their staple crop was maize. As white settlers gradually surrounded and then displaced them, the Mohegan dwindled in number. They sold most of their lands and moved to a reservation in New London, Connecticut. Surviving members later scattered, some joining other Indian settlements. A remnant continued to live in Connecticut. An important person in Mohegan history is Sansom Uckham. Sansom Uckham was, by his own account, born in a wigwam in New London, Connecticut in 1723. His parents were Joshua Uckham and Sarah Uncas. He was a member of the Mohegan Nation and boasted an impressive heritage. He was the great-great-great-grandson of Uncas, the Grand Sachem of the Mohegan. An English-educated Christian leader, Uckham served as a Calvinist missionary to Native Americans. He was the first Native American writer to publish in English and is often referred to as the father of American Indian literature. He has also been called the first Native American published composer. A significant event that hugely impacted the Mohegans was the Pequot War. In the 1630s, Dutch and English settlers in the Connecticut Valley encroached on Pequot lands. War looked inevitable. The murder of an English trader led the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Plymouth, and Connecticut to declare war in the spring of 1637 on the Pequot. The Mohegans sided with the colonists in the war, and the Pequot stood no chance. What resulted was the death or captivity of around 700 Pequots and elimination of them as being a threat in southern New England.